From a D's perspective, what more can you ask for? They are just electrifying, particularly on turnover, going coast to coast multiple times.
And they start the third quarter as well with Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver and Pickett in the centre bounce. So,
which matchup would you like?
Yeah, I don't know. Pickett going one-on-one though with Horne-Francis. That's exciting. But Taron Thomas trying to get the first clearance of the half. Pickett went in again, but well played by Coleman Jones to get it to Horne-Francis. And Greenwood sends it inside 50, but well read by the D's. Hibbert able to intercept and go back in towards the middle of Casey. That is Petrarca marking and finding Sparrow, who's had a lot of time on the ball so far today, Tom Sparrow. And the D's through Spargo, who kicked a terrific goal in that second quarter onslaught. The D's using some patient build-up here. Petrarca pulls the trigger with a long, high kick, and McDonald will fly from behind, but Ben Brown was in front, and that long reach on display again can go back and look to put through his third goal.
I really like that by the D. So they just crib their way up the far side. They just take that 15-metre option, just get themselves into a position to launch a little bit deeper. If they had kicked it from that initial possession, it's probably going to land about on the 50-metre arc, and it's a really dangerous position to try and defend if you turn the football over. Take that additional 15. Petrarca then goes long and allows the key forwards in Ben Brown to launch at the football. And here's this run up again.
Touches the sight screen and
he does.
Works his way into the arc, hoping for goal number 3. He's been kicking the ball superbly so far today. It doesn't look great off the boot that time. Might still be in play. In the end, Josh Walker happy to thump it through and over the line for a boundary throw-in.
That was a change of style from Ben Brown. That wasn't his usual walk straight kick through. Had a little bit of flicker in the air with the legs.
If you're going to experiment, this is the time to do it, I suppose, isn't it?
I reckon he needs to experiment. Is he at that stage in his career? I reckon what he's been doing, he's been okay.
It's a very good point, Nicholas. Brayshaw goes off the deck. You're kidding me. Almost out of mid-air. Looked all right off the boot. Brown trying to crumb, but in the end, Kane Turner was there to save the day for the Roos. To Zeeble, to Young, wasn't the 15. Forced into a rush kick. Marnie kept his feet, but then was immediately wrapped up. But Core provided some great overlap run there. And kicked up towards half-forward, but the D's so well set up. Tomlinson, Oliver, Salem just gets boot to ball, and May can reassess for the D's.
Just so well set up behind the football. The threat is minimal. They have layers of defence behind the footy.
Goes towards Mackay and Brown. Josh Walker arrived and thumped it away. Rivers paddled it towards the advantage here of Chandler, who lost control but was out of bounds. Oh, in fact, it's a free kick going the way of North Melbourne.
Looks like it's Marnie on the far side.
It is.
So I just wanted to try something different for North Melbourne. It's not about necessarily getting back into the game and winning it today, but just to trial holding a really strong forward structure, whether it be that 6-on-6, because still, once again, there's 2 extra Ds behind the football that are just holding their defensive depth.
So I haven't seen too many fresh faces out there. Just on the... For the Demons, we're just looking in front of the bench here, and Sam Wiedemann and Toby Bedford. Having a bit of a look at in the fourth quarter. Saw yesterday at the Essendon Bulldogs game in particular that some players only played 1 quarter in the end, and that proved beneficial for both Tex Wanganeen and Nick Martin, who got list spots for the Bombers. Filling up those last 2 list spots as Pickett explodes, and with a left foot, pinpoint precision to Ben Brown.
Can't help but mark it, Ben Brown, because he picked it on the non-preferred. Just a thing of beauty, isn't it, the D's? So I just wonder, you speak about what is the perfect preparation? And I know the last couple of years have been really disjointed, and we have to be agile and flexible in everything that we do. Knowing that most clubs will have a normal preparation, given that it is only today's practice match and then the pre-season competition next week, what is the ideal time that some of these A-graders are going to play today? Does Petrarca need to play a whole game?
Yep.
Oliver, Max Gawn's still out there. I just wouldn't be surprised if they came off. Maybe you'll get them the 3 quarters, then play them, full dress rehearsal next week, have the weekend off as they do before round 1, and then just launch.
The D seem like they've been seriously in full dress rehearsal for, particularly the last couple of quarters.
Yep.
They've been very slick. Salem switches. Hibbard goes through the middle of Casey Fields and goes inside 50, hoping for Gawn or Ben Brown again, who's really gaining some confidence and plucking them from everywhere.
Well, he's up against young Bailey Scott there, so he had his work cut out for him, so Ben Brown should mark that.
That's the thing. He's always been such a great mark on the lead, Ben Brown, but if he can get this contested mark game going, which he saw glimpses of during his time at North Melbourne, he's going to be a force to reckon with.
Well, you think about him on the lead, you think about the contested marking. Now, the one area he's not brilliant at, and not everybody's perfect at everything, is probably the ground level stuff.
Yep.
But when you've got the likes of this small forward line as well for the Ds, if he can do those first two out of those three, he's a hell of a player.
Third set shot of this third quarter coming up for Ben Brown. Probably the easiest look he'll have, though, from almost directly in front. And he makes no mistake. Nicely done from Ben Brown. He kicks his third goal of the game, and that is 9 straight goals for the Ds since the first quarter. Melbourne 10-3 leading North Melbourne 2-5. That lead balloons out to 46 points.
And it comes from that turnover across the half-back line. I'm actually loving the game of Brayshaw. I'm keeping a really close eye on him about holding his width. So Hibbert had the ball from the switch kick coming back through the middle. Brayshaw was on the near side as an option. Now, if Hibbert doesn't want to take it and goes forward, that's his right. But without the Brayshaw width in the onto the wing, that option's not there for Hibbert as he goes forward. So have a look at Bailey Scott. He's 186 centimetres. Yeah. So he was always up against it. That's a dreadful mismatch. A little bit unorganised behind the football, but Ben Brown having a lovely day.
Good to see Angus Brayshaw also having a great day. Recovered well from that well-earned cigar after the grand final premiership last year. As
I've been watching a little bit of American sport. It's a tradition. Yes. Haven't seen it a great deal in our country, but you can do whatever you want, I guess, when you win a flag.
Gawn sends it long and deep. Phillips waiting to pounce. Heavy tackle from Harms. And he wins a holding the ball free kick. You could hear the slap on the arm as Harms laid that tackle on Phillips. And he can have a set shot.
Well, he's a good kick of the football. I just wonder whether there's starting to be a slight breeze to the left of screen. So going in favour of North Melbourne just by the reaction. This might give us a good look to see if that breeze has just picked up a tiny bit.
26 years of age, James Harms. Still plenty of great footy left in him. Gives it a good ride.
No issue at all.
Lovely straight kick from Harms, who becomes yet another multiple goal kicker in this game. He's got 2. And he becomes the 4th multiple goal kicker for the Demons, who continue to pile on the points. They lead by 52.
And what's really pleasing with Harms and his growth, he was a tagger a handful of years ago, or that negating midfielder. He's then become that half-forward, impactful player as well. And we saw that work that he did in that second quarter, I believe it was, the work rate from the half-back flank to the forward pocket to kick a goal. But he's also prepared to do it at ground level. Get after the opposition. Young Phillips probably caught by surprise at the speed of Harms closing him down. And once again, another lovely finish. 11 goals, 3 is beautiful kicking for your first outing.
So that is 7 goals, 2 since since quarter time for the Demons, and the Kangaroos still haven't kicked a goal since the first quarter. Goldstein won that one. Petrarca burst his way through, but again, Thomas is waiting there. He's found a fair bit of the ball today around the clinches for North Melbourne. But no clean entry here inside their forward half, as Smith's happy to see it over the line.
So Mackay's gone to Ben Brown as he makes his way up the ground. So he's the deepest forward.
Yep.
He's coming up to roughly the centre circle on the far side. So they hold a really strong forward structure, the Ds. They've got 5 in front of the football.
Gawn applies the big tackle there on Young. Really made him earn that.
And on the flip side, Coleman Jones coming out of the goal square with Larkey.
Yep.
And Stevenson in the pocket. So they've just got the 3 in the forward line.
Neil Bullen couldn't quite pick it up cleanly, but Harms was there to pounce with Petrarca and Oliver. Dynamic duo. Dangerous kick from Oliver into the middle, and Lazaro was there waiting to mark. Thomas receives. Powell, handballs behind there. It just didn't have the forward run there. The pressure was great from the Ds as well. And now they are off.
Here's the turnover.
Hibbard, Salem, lots of open space for him to work with. Jackson leading hard inside 50. Good spoil from Josh Walker. Brings the ball to ground and wins it back. Well played by the veteran Kangaroo. Working in tandem there with Hayden. Scott's kick was smothered though by Langdon. He keeps it inside the forward arc. Hibbard goes back to McDonald. Off one step, beautiful pass to Petrarca, dropped the mark.
Oh.
And kicking in danger, wasn't it?
Kicking in
Yes.
danger. You don't see that very often at this
In that
level
particular
of
in that
football.
situation where it was almost off the bounce, but Petrarca will have a shot for goal. Let's have a look on replay. Maybe a bit stiff there, Jack Siegel.
Yeah. 50-50.
Yeah. Nonetheless, Petrarca will have a shot for goal, and in amongst his terrific season last year, the fact that he was able to kick 29 goals was absolutely fantastic, and 7 goals across the 3 finals that Demons played. Just showing why he's a genuine now superstar of this competition. And still just 26 years of age. So we have about 40 metres to cover here. Christian Petrarca, well off to the right, and doesn't even score.
You think about this, the scary thing of Christian Petrarca and off the back of his last 2 years, but particularly last year, his best football is probably in front of him. The next 2 to 3 years is his hitting zone from a physical perspective. Most AFL players are around their peak around the 27, 28 number. To think that he could be at this level for another 2 or 3 years is very scary. Here he goes. There he goes. Oh, he's hit the post. On cue.
Petrarca with a behind. The Demons, their lead now really building. 53-point differential between these two sides. No easy kicks or disposals at all for North Melbourne, as pushing the back there for Hayden, and the Roos take the advantage through Bailey Scott and burst from half back towards the 2 number 44, Smith and Zurha. Great tackle from Zurha, who's had a tough day today. No free kick for Zurha for holding the ball. There was a tackle that lingered from the Roos just afterwards, and they'll take the advantage now, Melbourne, as Langdon goes towards McDonald, has 2 Kangaroos to beat, and he kept his feet and beat them all. Jackson, Oliver, lining up. Pickett zigzags his way through on the left towards Chandler. Goldstein there to thump it through for a minor score.
Just keeping an eye on Jaden Stevenson. It was him that went down behind play in the hands of the trainers. He is back to his feet and slowly moving back to position, or is he coming from the ground? Hopefully it's just winded in that tackle in the forward pocket for the Kangas.
There he is on screen, just being attended to by a couple of trainers. Seems to be moving okay. In the meantime, Zeeble goes towards the middle of the ground. There's Paul Curtis, the draftee from last year, having a touch of the ball. Zeeble able to intercept after Thomas got hands to the footy. Big hit there by the D's. Spargo wrapped up in a tackle. That's Miller Bergman applying the tackle there. Thomas extracts it again. He's one of North Melbourne's best today. Tomlinson easily edged Coleman Jones underneath the ball. They're just lining up, ready for the switch either side, really. It's Langdon who marks on the edge of the centre square.
It's just so fast to go from offence to defence and have structure behind the football. That stability gives those midfielders in particular the confidence to come forward and put extra pressure on the Kangas. And you could just see that last passage of play, just the quick handballs. Not perceived pressure, it was real pressure. They had to get rid of the footy.
So Langdon with a couple of possessions in that chain. Now Bowie pulls the trigger on a long kick towards half forward. McDonald and Gawn. McDonald got hands to the ball. Horn Francis was caught holding the ball. He's a little flabbergasted by the call. But the D's will have a free kick here. And McDonald, with a little bit of a breeze potentially now at his back, might fancy himself. Kicked 2 goals already in this game. Ben Brown has 3. He's a lovely low kick of the ball, Tom McDonald. Let's see what he can do with this opportunity. He keeps it low, but puts it to a hot spot. And Bailey Scott had a good enough time when his hands on the ball there. He's paid the mark.
Just watching Sam Wiedemann. He's still in the warm-up gear in the back seat of the bench. See if he gets an opportunity possibly in this last quarter and they change up that forward structure.
Horn Francis with some speed and acceleration. Clean pickup and a high kick towards Larkey. 1-on-1 with Smith, and Larkey can't mark. Goes out of bounds in the end, but that was just a glimpse of Jason Horn Francis on display there, that clean pickup and acceleration.
Well, that's the comparison that we've heard in the last year or two about the Dangerfield, the ability to get it off the deck at pace. Doesn't change the stride and then just puts it out into space for a forward.
Coleman Jones edged out of the ruck contest. Lazaro goes back to Patrick Walker, snaps around the body. Larkey in front, tries to keep it alive and can't. Come through for a minor score. North Melbourne have had just 4 behinds. In fact, just 3 behinds since quarter time.
Well, those 2 goals they got early in that first quarter as well, Benny.
Yep.
So it has been extremely tough going.
And 10 on the trot for the D's. Langdon starting to rack up a fair bit of the footy on that outer side, as is Bowie. 7 AFL games and a flag to his name. Gawn and McDonald in front. Max Gawn. That's almost near impossible to defend that. And they waste no time in the D's, but that kick was smothered off the boot. Now the Roos can sniff a chance off turnover. Lazaro checks the kick, but just had a bit too much juice on it. Marnie going back with Tomlinson. Tomlinson moving really well across the ground. Kick just a little off target, but Jordan keeps it alive. Young smothers it over the boundary line for a throw-in.
It does always worry me, though, for a first game back. Tomlinson going and then changing direction extremely quickly on a sharp angle. Just those little steps. Make sure that knee's fully recovered.
Just see
Did it well, though.
Callum Coleman Jones is limping to the boundary line as well. He'll get some attention. We'll keep our eyes on.
Appears to be left knee from this advantage point, Ben.
We'll keep our eyes on that as Oliver extracts now to Rivers, who gave it straight to Powell. A rare turnover, and Powell pounces. A goal against the flow. That breaks a 10-goal streak from the D's, and Powell gets North Melbourne's first since the first quarter, and the pick 13 from the 2020 draft. He played 13 games last year. Certainly a player that Roos fans are very excited about.
Absolutely, and that's a lovely finish. I think you get a glimpse. Have a look at this on the replay. 1, 2, 3. Get your body organised. Line up towards your target. It's a lovely finish, and one of the rare mistakes from the D's. That's good. It's just every now and then, but you just want a little bit of reward for effort, and clearly they're not getting the reward in regards to the scoreboard pressure. They are getting little wins by getting some young players opportunities. We just spoke about Horne-Francis, but you speak about Powell and the opportunity that he'll have. He'll be given every opportunity to get games this year, you'd like to think. He'll get exposed at times because he's young and it's all part of the learning. But just little moments like that would warm the hearts of North Melbourne supporters. Say, okay, I see why everyone's speaking so highly about this young man, as he's at this centre square bounce.
So Goldstein doing the ruck work because Callum Coleman Jones has gone up the race for the Kangaroos. We'll keep our eyes on him and bring you any news that we have. As the Roos again through Lazaro, just starting to get involved a little bit more in the game, Lazaro, but turned it over. May to Oliver to Salem. Great tackle, Horne-Francis. Forces the turnover, and his fellow draftee in Curtis with a left foot kick towards the goal square. Marnie off the deck, kicks the goal. And just like that, the Roos have 2 in a minute. And Jack Marnie has 2 goals for the game, and that was some of their young guns getting involved there, North Melbourne, with Lazaro and Curtis and Horne-Francis, and then ultimately Jack Marnie.
Well, they've all gone to Horne-Francis to say well done on that fantastic tackle. The aggression and the power and the ability to stick that with a strong player coming the opposite ways. We have a close look at this on the replay. So here comes out Oliver, trying to create that overlap handball through Salem. It's a great chase.
It's an 18-year-old tackling a 26-year-old there.
Yeah. But that 18-year-old's rare.
Yeah.
We've got to put that not all 18-year-olds are able to do those sort of tackles halfway through the third quarter. And once again, nice reward for effort. Marnie getting in front of the footy and finishing off the work up the field. 2
majors now for Jack Marnie, and the Demons now holding a 41-point advantage. We've got just over 10 minutes remaining in this quarter. Goldstein and Jackson to do battle. Greenwood in this centre bounce, man up on Harms. Push out is called. Will be going the way of Jackson from the ruck contest.
That was just the threat of Jackson jumping straight over the top of Goldie. A little nudge.
Jackson towards half forward. Brayshaw almost wasn't expecting it there with Patrick Walker. Brayshaw able to get his hands on the ball though. Feeds it to Rivers. Kick inside 50. Fumbled. Allowed Neil Bullen to pounce, and he's one player you don't want to give an opportunity to. Luckily though, the Kangaroos had a saviour right on the last line of defence, and it was Josh Walker who forces a rush behind.
And plays on quickly.
Goldstein. Stevenson. Work it out in the end across their defensive 50.
Good to see him back. So he was just winded from that contest earlier this quarter. Just wonder where Jaden Stevenson has the most impact for the Kangas. We've seen him have a handful of games through the midfield where he gets a lot of the football. We've also seen him be damaging forward of the football as that crafty player inside forward 50.
If he can put his pace to good use as well, that wing position, he can be a real handful for opposition sides, can't
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the onus is on him to do the work, to put himself in those positions to get more of the football.
What a kick from Pickett. Oh, Harm's got a bad bounce in the end. It was well set up, though, by Pickett. Sparrow applies the tackle, able to get hands free the Roos in the end. Josh Walker puts it towards Turner's advantage. Turner handballed it along the turf. That is deemed okay in the end, so it'll be tossed back in on the edge of 50 with the D's holding a 42-point advantage. You're right there, Dale. You've had a shocking day with your pen, it looks like.
I love 4 pens. Yep. I only use 4 pens, and my favourite colour, blue, has just leaked all over me. I look like a squid. I've inked all over my pad, which has really frustrated me.
All thoughts and prayers to Nick Del Santo here in the commentary box as Sparrow goes towards the Truson half-forward area. Pickett almost picked it up cleanly off the ground. Horne-Francis starting to get his hands on the ball a little bit more. That kick just held up in the breeze ever so slightly. Real tough task for Patrick Walker, especially when Brayshaw was coming the opposite way.
Well, he's in two minds, Horne-Francis, and clearly not the ideal kick or execution. But the alternative option was to go long and wide to Zerha, who was up against May and a spare defender. So that's why he tried to create something across goal. Another opportunity to learn. Work through it, a little bit of problem solving as well. That didn't work, okay? If I'm in that situation again, what do? I'll take yardage. We'll get it as far away from our goal line as we can make it.
Really good look on our KO Sports cameras here at Angus Brayshaw's set shot. And he's done it superbly. Great kick, Brayshaw. He's got his first. The D's get one back after 2 consecutive North Melbourne goals. And Angus Brayshaw, you mentioned his role last year. He might not get as much of the ball, only kicked the 3 goals as well, but it's all I've heard you talking about today is how important his role is in the structure. And you watch a Melbourne game, you see Langdon own a wing and you see Brayshaw own the other wing, and it just works.
Well, we just saw it just then. So he was covering the exit. So his role in that passage of play was not allow the Kangas to have easy ball to the near side, which would have been the open side. That's where the Kangas ultimately want to go to move the ball smoothly or almost uncontested from one end of the ground to the other. So he teases the opposition to think you can have that kick, knowing full well he can come forward and close it. And that's why I'm a fan of his. You know, every club has that style of player. And we look at his numbers sometimes, and I'm as guilty as anybody. Go, geez, Brayshaw's only walked off with 10 or 15 touches, and he's played on the wing the whole day.
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah, he does things so the others, particularly inside, can go to work and get a lot of the football.
Phillips able to get the clearance here to Horne-Francis. Future of North Melbourne on display there. Taylor towards Curtis. Clean gather there from the draftee. Back to Horne-Francis. Another high kick from the number 1 pick. And easy pickings there for the D's to thump it over the line and out of bounds. But good to see Horne-Francis just lift his output a little bit more in this third quarter. Sort of when he arrived at the club, everyone thought he was just a round 1 shoe-in. Certainly has the body for it, but he wanting to have a good hit out here.
And it appears Max Gorn is done for the day. He just casually walks past us and into the rooms. Rest easy, Melbourne supporters. It's by his own choice. He's just had enough for the day. He's done the work.
Horne-Francis taken high. So we'll have a look at him at a set shot opportunity here. Jason Horne-Francis taken way too high in the tackle. Now the 18-year-old who was such a star with South Adelaide last year on really sort of a changing of the narrative when he had 3 goals in that preliminary final for South Adelaide.
That was the moment, wasn't it?
It was.
That was the talk in the AFL world that this guy's number 1, and off the back of playing against men and kicking those 3 goals, he's good enough at this level.
What's he got in a set shot from a really tough angle? He'll go across goal, big fly over the top from the Roos, and Zerha couldn't get hands to it. And it's through for North Melbourne, 7th behind of the day.
When you think about the amount of work Gavin Brown, the head of development at North Melbourne, Tom Lynch has just joined that crew. Yes. I reckon there's a couple of others. Tom Lynch from Adelaide and St Kilda. So they've got a huge responsibility, that group of men in that development program, to help, support, nurture this large crop of youngsters making their way in their AFL career.
Petrarca took the mark from the kick in, found Jordan. Now Langdon back to Petrarca. The power running on display there. Josh Walker, though, easily able to thump it away there from Neil Bullen. It's becoming a bit of a trend as well, because Tom Lynch is likely going to play a little bit of footy as well, particularly at VFL
he needs
level.
To get a game first, Ben.
Yes.
Tom Lynch needs to earn his stripes if he's going to play VFL. He's no shoe-in.
Right. But like Tyson Goldsake did that at Port Adelaide as well. Seeing a few. Neville Jedd's going to do something similar at Collingwood this year, play some VFL footy straight out of AFL footy while being a development coach. Horn Francis with the free kick here.
I think that's a really good way to balance it as well. And without knowing for a fact, there's a little bit of a soft cap conversation, I think, in there some way. How do you manage money, knowing that it's been a really tough couple of years and the spends at clubs aren't what they once were? So how do you still get really good people, educated people, really good with the young emerging players within your football club? How do you get them involved? And how do you get them to have an impact and support other guys?
Nick Larkey able to get his hands on the ball there. And Larkey and Zerha have had very little room to move, or very little easy ball for them today. Thomas presents just outside the 50-metre arc. There are so many red and blue jumpers back, though, so good luck finding a target. But Zerha did his best to provide one. Curtis's kick was smothered. Neil Bullen picks up the crumbs, exits from defensive 50, and Tom McDonald got a cruel bounce, allowed Taylor to have another opportunity, and Curtis marks and wheels onto the left. Inside 50, Larkey in front, but it went behind him, and Joel Smith able to intercept last line of defence with 3.5 minutes on the clock.
Well, that was good by Smith. It was him that got crunched by Zerha in that previous inside 50. He was down for a moment, looked to touch Proppy with a lead concern, gets back to his feet, takes proactive position, and then gets that intercept mark.
The D's holding a 47-point advantage. Brown and Jackson. Jackson up high. Down there is Sparrow. Arms able to spin easily out of the Phillips attempted tackle. And Petrarca almost set his teammate off there, but intercepted. There's Josh Goda, the number 31 for North Melbourne. The second-round draft pick from last year, having his first disposal. Roos able to switch here through Core. Taylor checks the kick, and well weighted as well. But Core got a bad bounce, and Langdon has got so much leg speed and cleanliness below his knees. And the D's here are off. Bowie over the top to Neil Bullen, shanks the kick. That's an opportunity gone begging, but how about that individual piece of brilliance from Langdon?
He's a superb player. Think about the way his game's grown. He was a really good, solid player at Fremantle a couple of years ago, and the way that he's fitted into this system, it's more than just playing your role as a winger. He controls an edge. His running power and his overlap run is as good as anybody in the competition. His skills have improved, particularly by foot.
That's been exemplified by the fact that he's finished 6th in the best and fairest last year and 4th in the best and fairest in his first year with Melbourne. So he's a very highly valued member of this Demons outfit. Spoiled there by the D's. Salem and Smith, two beach blonders working there. Tandem as Zeeble comes across and intercepts.
And then you think about the changes that Melbourne made over the last couple of years and those targeting specific players. Adam Tomlinson comes in, and yes, he can play wing now. He's found that roll across the half-back line. They obviously a few years ago went out and got 2 key defenders, which was questioned at the time.
There's Goda. Look inside 50. Thomas came out and he was heavily spoiled from behind there by May. Brayshaw. Hibbert will on his left side. Back to Smith, who sends it high and hoping for someone to fly, and the only one who did fly in the end was Jordan. With just over a minute remaining in this quarter.
And you complement those inclusions with the natural development, the growth of particularly those inside midfielders, Oliver, Petrarca, Brayshaw. Max Gorling's been there for a long time. And as a collective, it's all just come together.
McDonald wasn't paid the mark in the end. Gorn back on the field, goes towards half forward, but Zeeble again in the right place at the right time. He's positioned himself well today, Jack Zeeble. That kick was very, very risky, and it's gone straight down the throat of Bowie. So they've got 40 seconds here, the D's, to have an impact on the scoreboard. Langdon gives them an inside 50. Petrarca v Zeeble, and Zeeble went for the ball with aggression there and thumped it over the line. If he missed it, that was going straight down the throat of Petrarca.
Just watch Salem. So Max Gawn has come back onto the ground, so it might have just been a little pit stop.
Yep.
He's back out there. Salem has just walked into the rooms as well. So we'll just wait to see if he's had enough. 3/4 done.
I reckon we might see a few changes and a few players putting cotton wool at 3/4 time. Risky handballs here from the Roos. Petrarca is lurking, and then in the end, Lazaro happy to rush it through for a minor score just before the 3/4 time siren.
We might get an opportunity to see the pecking order at Melbourne about those that get to have the last quarter off. Who do they value the most, Benny? Everybody is equal, but not everybody is treated the same.
Yeah, we'll give you a full update on who's going to have the foot massages at 3/4 time and in that 4th quarter. But as we turn for home, the D's well positioned. They've had a terrific game so far. 12-7-79, the reigning premiers, leading North Melbourne 4-7-31. Great to have you with us wherever you're watching around the country on KO Sports. As we continue our coverage of the AFL pre-season practice matches, we'll take a short break and have Nick Del Santo analysis and 4th quarter action coming up in just a few moments.